We want to build the #1 international baseball league.
Oh, what a catch! Oh, what a catch, baby!
Like I said, I feel blessed.
The pitcher grabbed by Schlitter goes to the force of the plate.
Ground ball, double play, game over. Wow!
This is a money ball, gentlemen, and this. Oh, money ball!
We are back with the Baseball United podcast after a bit of a hiatus following the Arab Classic. We made a ton of history out there, officially opened our ballpark, so I can't wait to break this all down for you guys. And joining me today is the manager of the UAE National Baseball Team, Eddie Diaz. Eddie, great to see you, bro. How's everything been going?
It's been going great. Thank you once again to have me in your specialty.
Of course, man. I appreciate you taking the time. I know you're a busy man. Last time I had you on here, I mean, got to be what, 6-7 months ago now. So a lot has happened. A ton has happened in that span. Our relationship has grown a lot, which I'm very grateful for you and your guidance over those the course of those months. But Eddie, what I want to do today with you is really break down your experience at the Arab Classic, everything that happened over there, talk a little bit about the UAE National Team, and really let everyone know your thoughts on it. So first and foremost, let's just start with, once we got over there, we went to the ballpark either the first or second day. When you first saw our ballpark, Baseball United Ballpark, what was your initial reaction?
Oh, it was crazy. First of all, when I got the phone call from Cash Sheikh, our CEO, and co-founder, and chairman, and he asked me to manage the UAE. I was like, I mean, you really? I said, well, how many days we have to train these kids? He says, well, Roger Duthie, who's actually the president of the Little League Baseball.
Another friend of the program, Roger Duthie.
Exactly. He says he already put in some players together. I said, well, let's take it from there. But going back and talk about the ballpark that we actually built in 38 days, it was crazy. I remember the first day when I got there and I see our executive vice president, John Midrick, working in the field with Herbie and the rest of the crew, and lead by our CEO, Cash Sheikh. It was a dream that you say 38 days, can we do this? It was crazy.
It was absolutely. Yeah, couldn't agree more. The night we all went there, the whole Baseball United team went there for kind of like almost the lighting ceremony, we can call it, where they lit up the field. Just standing on the field in the dark gave you goosebumps. It was amazing to see just how it went from dust and dirt 38 days ago to this immaculate looking ballpark, this beautiful looking turf field. And I know, at least from talking to the players that I spoke to, I'm sure you received similar feedback as well. The field played great. Like there were no crazy bounces or anything. Looked like it really played as if it were a professional grade field.
Oh, and the lights. I mean, everything is perfect. I should have said this way. I would never believe in imagination that we're going to have a ballpark in 38 days. And I remember the first meetings that we all have, and our CEO keep pushing and keep pushing and keep pushing. Says we're going to get this done, and we actually, and his shoulders fighting with him to get this done, and it's unbelievable. I mean, the first day that I went there actually was in the evening because we have some meetings in the office. I went in the evening with John, our executive vice president, and it was crazy. But you know what? It come out beautiful. Everything was put together perfectly. People loves it. People that came from those countries to play, they love it. Fans loves it. It's it's a dream come true for all of us.
I think it's important to note, Eddie, and you saw it firsthand as well. I think it's important to note just how much work and effort from everyone on our team, all of our partners, everyone, to make this ballpark come to life in 38 days. We had people working basically 24-hour days, 24/7, up until the day the Arab Classic kicked off.
And a great weather, because I will tell you this: it's not only working in the ballpark, but also we got some heat that we have to deal with. But the weather in the end was perfect, especially in the playing time, and the surroundings of our ballpark is beautiful because we have other fields like cricket fields. We have a rugby field, soccer field. It's a beautiful spot. It's only 20 minutes away from the hotel where we're staying, and even 30, 25 minutes from downtown. So it's perfect.
There was a moment, Eddie, during one of the days during one of the games. I went out onto the field. We were in territory. I sat down with Cash. I want to say it was that Saturday, um, the Saturday game slate, and it was right around maybe 5 o'clock or so, and everything just looked perfect. It gave you the feel as if you were at an MLB ballpark, which made me happy getting that feeling because I know that the fans who have never really experienced baseball before certainly were feeling something similar as well. And in my conversation I had with Cash that night, he said it just is. He used the word magical, and it really stuck with me. It's magical right around when 5 o'clock, 4 or 5 o'clock hit. The sun setting, the sky's orange, pink, all these colors. It just looks absolutely beautiful. So to set the scene and give these new fans their first taste of baseball in that way, I don't think we could have asked for anything better.
Well, let's keep starting from the beginning. I remember that evening that Cash says, "Hey, I want the team to practice tonight." So we decided to have a practice. But before that, we want to start the light to see how it looks. And when you see Roger, Steve Fish, who has experienced different ballparks in the past, one from Canada, one from the U.S., and a lot of players that come in and say, "Wow, this is the first time that we're going to have a real ballpark well done here in the area." So it's a lot of appreciation from the fans, but also from the players.
Absolutely. For players even outside of your team, I would venture to guess that this was our field is probably the nicest field a lot of them have ever played on.
Yeah, yeah, it could be. I tell you what, you have to be there to actually to believe what was done in 38 days because everything was dirt at one point, and in just 20 days later, it started looking like a nice hair and a head put together. And then later, when you see the field, you say, "What's going on here? I mean, how can it be done so fast?" And I have to give him a lot of credit to Cash, our CEO, because from the beginning, he says we're going to build this ballpark. And when it comes to the ingredients, which of course, second in command and vice chairman John Midrick says, "Hey, you know what? Let's get it done." And all of us on board, especially who was on the ground, but the leadership of Cash was unbelievable, and the push day in and day out.
So I want to talk to you a little bit about the conversation you, Cash, and maybe John was involved. I can't remember if you said that or not, about managing the UAE national team. So you guys get on a call together and tell me a little bit about that conversation.
Well, after the historic moment of that signature by Cash with the executive cricket board and take over baseball actually in the area, and he asked me to manage. But the first question that John asked me, Eddie, but you haven't managed in a while. And I said, no, I manage 300 games a year because I watch baseball all over the place. So let's do it. And when I went to Dubai and I saw the first practice, I saw in each of those individuals that they really want to represent the UAE from the bottom of their heart. The coaches, Roger and Steve were great. Uh, they really want to get this done. And I remember when they asked me, uh, "Let's win this," I said, "Let's go one step at a time. Let's put this team together. Let's get a good mix of veteran young guys with younger guys. Let's make the playoff. After we make the playoff, let's think little farther up." And that's what happened. Nobody ever thought that we're going to be in the finals, and we did. And credit to the Pakistan team that beat us in the finals. But you know what? They did a great job.
To your point on the players and coaches being so appreciative, Eddie, there's something to be said about being selected as one of the first members of the first national team to represent your country, right?
It's big. In my life is always going to be right in here in my heart because when you become the first of something, it stick forever, and it's good memory that your family is going to share. Uh, when I spoke with Roger and he was very motivated, and until this day he wants to get more. But what I really like the most is when the first game they would win against India, and the fans is going crazy. I'm thinking like, wait a minute, this is something else. And when I went to the store the next day to buy something from the store, from the one, either the hat or jersey, everything was gone.
Hmm.
I said, something big is coming to the UAE, with these baseball maniacs that we really want to build up for the years to come.
Man, I got to ask you, Eddie, so many years in this game, multiple championships under your belt. What made you say yes to being the first manager of the UAE national team?
The challenge, because everything has been a challenge, and it's something that uh, Cash always bring to the table. Is how we going to get things done when we get the challenge in front of us. It's being a challenge. It's not easy when you want to actually bring baseball to the other side of the world, and which other sports are the primary sport for them. And the challenge was good, and we did it pretty well.
Well, it's certainly not easy doing what we're doing, but what another thing that can't be easy, Eddie, is going to a new team as the manager in from across the world and kind of like connecting with them so quickly because you guys didn't have that much time to kind of bond, figure out who was best at what. You know what I mean? So how do you come in there and immediately kind of promote that type of camaraderie?
Well, the first thing you have to do is you have to understand the nature of the other person. And when I see each one of them, I know exactly what they want, who they are, even if I just met them a few days ago. And my number one goal was to make sure that we all get together. Because in sports, a lot of people have their own little agendas, but agendas have to be put together to make one book, and that book is to make history. So that's what we did from the beginning. We practiced 3 or 4 times. We did it as a family. I appreciate Roger so much because he did a lot for me up there to get to know this each of these players. Steve Fish, which is pretty well known coach year round with his own program that he have. At the same time, he professionally managed in Australia for like 7, 8, 10 years in a row. So I got two coaches, and I got the perfect guys that wants to go in the wagon and be part of this part of this history.
After that first practice, Eddie, when you all got done, went into foul territory, maybe into the dugout. Tell me a little bit about like the speech you gave these guys, just about being part of the national team and just about everyone being together to try and win this tournament.
Well, what I told them is what I used one time to one of my teams that when I win a championship in Mexico. I told them, I said, listen, we are ready in the playoff. From now on, what we're going to do is we're going to have our feet on the ground and in the eyes of the sky. We're going to give everything we got, and we're going to resist. We're going to resist to lose. We're going to win this one way or the other, and that was it. And I told them the patient is the magic of success. They every time they made a mistake or they made an error, they don't see me with negative reinforcement. They like that. So if I'm going to talk to them, is to try to get things better than what it was, after the last pitch or the last at bat. So that was a good communication. It was good club. I miss those guys. They did a great job, and it was fun.
I got to ask you, you mentioned John Miedrich said to you before you accepted the job that you hadn't managed in a while. That means you hadn't hit fungos in a while either. So how did that feel? How were you feeling the day after the first practice, after you took your first couple hacks?
Well, the fungal was easy, but I realized that Steve Fish, my assistant coach, he was pretty good, and I gave him his place. So he actually worked with the infielders mostly,
Mhm.
put things together, and I worked with the outfielders, and we both together worked with the pitchers. Roger he was a great assistant manager. So it was a family, and that's what made we have a tough game against the Palestine.
Mm-hmm.
The good ball club, well managed by Asa Guillen Jr. They also had a pitching coach, Freddie Garcia. Good ball team. But we believe in what we talk, what we say, and what we put in actions in the ballpark. And before the game, we said it. I said, hey guys, this is what we're gonna do. But also, I have to bring this, Lynn. We program ourselves well with the arms because we have to make sure that our pitchers was the right guy that we will use when we start each games.
Hmm.
And we saved our best guy for last. He came in against Saudi Arabia and saved the game with a couple of innings, and then he went in through 7 innings against Palestine, and that was the key.
You're
Which
talking about my man Lorenzo Riddle, right?
to me, with all the respect to the other player that was chosen as MVP, Lorenzo should be a big debate because he got a couple of homers. He hit over 360. He threw 9 innings, allowed 1 run.
Yeah, he put on a great show in the tournament for sure.
Yes.
So did a lot of other players, like you just mentioned. But yes, Lorenzo was certainly one of the top two or three, I would have to say, right?
And we have a great mix because first base, we had a kid who's 17 years old, Zach, the first baseman.
Yep.
Beautiful swing. And I remember when I asked Steve, I said, Steve, how good that kid is? He goes, he's pretty good. He will compete. We even use him in the outfield in a couple of games. So we have another kid, Gabriel Reque, who plays center, short, and ended up being catching. So we had a good mix of kid or guys, which a little older, with the younger guys, 17, 18 years old. That it's a good future. It's coming for UAE area.
Was there any kind of like underdog mentality entering the tournament, Eddie, considering that this is the first time the UAE national team's ever been together and taken the field in any kind of way?
I love that. I always been like that. I remember when they asked me why I took over a position in Mexico, and I said because that's me. I mean, when you go places and that things are easier, those don't have the same flavor.
Hmm.
So when when Cash asked me to do this, my first question is how good we are. And I went up there and talked to Roger. He says, well, we have a bunch of guys that play in adult league. I said, well, we're going to do is we're going to do a little mix to be blend. And he says, perfect. So we believe all the way. And when you have some ingredients and you believe in what you're doing, you become dangerous.
So, Eddie, I also need to ask, did you feel as you kept progressing in the tournament, did you feel like at all that you guys had any sort of a home field advantage considering like we were in the UAE?
We did. I mean, we had the fans, which that was great. But I also have to look and say, when you look in the other side, the professional way, and Robbie Cano go to Mexico, he's not Mexican. He gonna hit 430 and MVP of the league. And you figure, when you go to the other side of the world, but believe it or not, Liam, when I was on the plane, you and I traveled the same day. I was thinking of the team. I was thinking of the videos that I already watched my players. I was thinking what I'm gonna say. I already thinking how I'm gonna get along with these guys. But you know what? It was a bless from the beginning. I mean, when you got kids like Chris Byers, Bobby Fila, Phillips, all these guys, Lorenzo, they great. They just host you great. I mean, the way they open their arms. Not to forget Jose Acosta, the pitcher who played first base as well. So all those guys, they great. They did a great job as a players, but they did a great job as a host as well.
Right. I couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. Eddie, you alluded to this earlier, and I want to go back to it quickly. You talked about how it was difficult to kind of manage the pitchers. So I want to kind of dive into that a little bit. In a tournament like this, when we have certain pitch count limits and stuff like that for the entire tournament, what goes into the decision to start a certain guy over another?
Oh, we had a good meeting, Roger, Steve, and myself, and we went over the guys. So we decided Acosta would get in, how many pitchers. Because remember, the first day, we right away that we have to play India and Pakistan,
Mm-hmm.
two of the best teams. So, we figured like we got to go with some of our horses. And as soon as what I told the guys, I said, look, if we win one out of two or we win two, we're in a good position. So three teams have to come out of the division. So I asked them who's the best arm that we have, and they flat out tell me Lorenzo. I say okay, so we go into Neil Lorenzo to the end, and Roger did a good job, and Steve to let me know about that arm because he just came in and South against Saudi Arabia, shut him down for the last 2 2/3, and comes and pitched 7 innings. Not only pitching but also hitting at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
That,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
that kid, I don't know how he was not drafted in the state. I mean, he runs well. He got pretty good swing. He hit for power. He got a pretty good arm. He got a 55 arm for any position. It's some talents. It's some talents in the UAE. I
Yeah.
think I think Cash vision to get involved with more youngsters in the UAE it will be great for us as well, great for them.
I agree. You mentioned that you were surprised that he wasn't drafted here in the States. Perhaps, Eddie, the Arab Classic and tournaments similar to it moving forward will act as almost a launching pad for players like these overlooked players to get on that national stage and kind of get more eyeballs on them from other professional leagues around the world. What do you think about that?
I agree with you. I got a couple of phone calls from some agents and some scouts asking me about Mustaf Khan, the big, tall, slender kid from Pakistan. He got a good arm. Amshar Moore with India. A Mexican team asked me for Chris Bayer. How good is he? What's his best position? If second or short. Some school was asking me about Gabriel. So it was a good tournament for the area, but it was a good tournament for the exposure for the players. And Pakistan, ranked I believe 36 in the world. Now
Mm-hmm.
probably will get better ranking, and it was a great tournament.
So you guys went 3-1 in group play, Eddie, before the playoffs started. Were you at all surprised at how good this team was really rolling once the games got started?
Yes, because they believe in themselves, and there was a great friendship between them. It was a beauty to see Jose Acosta, who played in 2010 with the Pittsburgh Pirates in the minor league. Now he moves to Dubai, and he is teaching kids, and now he pitching on the mound, competing at that level. It was great to see that.
So let's talk playoffs, Eddie. Let's talk mental. What are you telling the team before before the playoffs kick off, before that quarterfinal game that you guys are in?
I just go one game at a time and let them know that we have to be perfect like a pilot. A lot of people ask me why I don't have any emotions when Chris hit the home run or Lorenzo strike out the last guy. I've been in that seat a lot of time. So I just want to let them know that I will have the same poker face and both sides, winning or losing. So when we lost that game against Pakistan, I say, hey, it's nothing for you to worry about it. We're 1-1 right now. What we need to do is win two more, come out of the back, go to the playoff, and then in the playoff is when we have to kick in and show who we are, because we need to be in the finals.
Exactly.
So when I saw those youngsters celebrate going to the finals, it got me very happy. But I also give him a good hug to Roger, Steve, and also Cash and John, because I know when they when Cash make the decision that I should manage this team, he asked me, "What do you think is going to happen?" I say, "Well, what's going to happen is what you want to happen." He goes, "What, Eddie?" I say, "Cash, you want the team in the finals." He goes, "Yes, we go into the finals." He goes, "Okay, I give you a hug and a home play," and that's how it happened.
And damn, did you guys deliver on that, but not before you guys had a huge upset win versus Palestine. Tell me a little bit about that game, Eddie.
It was a great game. It was a couple of pitchers that we got a hold of it, and we scored some runs. But I tell you what, and I did tell you during the tournament. You asked me who was the favorite. I say Palestine.
Yep.
They got good arms, they got good talent. I'm not taking nothing away from Pakistan. Pakistan did a great job, and they win the right way. They win. They don't even lost one game, but it was something there with Palestine, well coached, the enthusiasm, the fire. But overall, it was a great tournament because everybody loves it. I remember the umpires. They ask you after every game how good I was. That was their question. How I did. Did I did well? I mean, everything was working. The music, everything was perfect.
Yep. To your point there, Eddie, so just so for those that don't know in the audience, we had 3 umpires come over from Sri Lanka who did a great job. I wish I had their names on hand. I don't, unfortunately, but they did do a great job. It speaks to our ability as an organization, Eddie, through Cash's leadership to provide opportunities outside of playing the game. You know what I mean? So umpires from Sri Lanka, you have podcasters, you have media, you have managers. There's so many opportunities in this game, and I think that's one of the most beautiful things about our organization is we try and create as many opportunities for as many people as we can.
No, and also the ingredients of Cash inviting Barry Larkin, our Hall of Fame, Adrian Beltre, Hall of Fame, Elvis Andrews, 2 years All Star. You know, when you see those individuals there, and you also see Mariano Rivera, who came, I think, a day later, it was a beauty. It was a good 12 days to remember.
I also think that when we saw all these legends, all of our co-owners get to the field and see it for the first time, that's something, at least for me, Eddie, I'll never forget because it was just so incredible. You could tell what they were feeling. You could feel it. It was in the air. Just how amazing it was that we actually built a ballpark in the middle of Dubai.
Yeah, and watching the kids. I mean, I remember kids playing ball, chasing baseballs. It was a beauty. I mean, and I tell you this, and we've been in a lot of meetings, which you've been part of it, all those meetings. When we talk of having a field in 30 days, 40 days, I was one of them who says a field in 40 days. How's that going to happen? But you know what? Credit to credit is, and we have a ballpark.
I don't think you were alone in that thinking, Eddie, and that it might be a little difficult to get a ballpark done in less than 40 days. I'm sure most of our organization probably thought that, but luckily we have a leader in Cash Shake who continues to just push these boundaries and kind of make the impossible possible each and every day. And I'm not sure what it is. I got to get him back on here and ask him, but I want to know what it is that continues to drive this man to push the boundaries of baseball and just create new things within the game.
Well, it's easy. The passion. He has a passion. He has a mission. The passion of the game, and also the mission of bring the game to that side of the world, and says, we are here. And he has all the ingredients to actually say this is what baseball is all about. And then he got a good number two in the company with John Mildred, which he does an unbelievable job when it needs to be done in the at the desk or in the field. And it's a team. It's a beautiful team. Remember, we have our U.S. Home crowd, but we also have our guys on the ground over there in Dubai, like DT, Josh, and those all those
All of the content guys, got to shout out all the content guys. Those guys working their ass off every day.
day in and day out.
So, Eddie, you guys, after you guys beat Palestine, you're headed to the championship. What I keep going back to this, but I'm just so curious because I wasn't able to see it firsthand. What's the message from the manager entering the championship game?
Well, once again, I told them, I say, with your feet on the ground and your eyes to the sky, we're gonna win this game, and we don't know what's gonna happen in the end, but we're gonna give the best effort we can. But I tell you what, when everything was done, uh, I say thank you to each one of them. It was my pleasure to be their manager. I hugged them, and the way they hugged, the way they came to me and hugged me and say thank you, coach. I hope you come back. It was great. It was great, and also how the people accepted, the fans. People from all over. It was, to me, it was a great experience.
So
Unbelievable.
much camaraderie on that team, Eddie, obviously led by you, but it just speaks to the beauty of this game once more. It just its ability to bring people together. I talk about it all the time on this show. It's incredible. You live in the US, you fly over to Dubai. You guys are acting like you guys have been playing together for the last 10 years. It's unbelievable.
But that's actually how the whole organization, leading by Cash, was a feeling. Cash was in the ground, uh, being the CEO of the company, but he was running around like he was a normal worker. I mean, he was just all over the place.
Doing everything. I think the dynamic duo of him and John Miedrich in the kind of the versatility they have from to go from their desk in these meetings with government officials to really grinding on the field, uh, zip tying up sponsor sheets on the outfield wall. It was incredible.
It was, and then when everything was over, then we have this celebration around the second base area in the field. It was beautiful. I mean, when I see Herbie saying few words, after all the work, I just hope that people appreciate it. I just hope that people understand what we what we try to be doing in that part of the world. And one day, one day, we all gonna sit down and say, you know what, we got this. And I have no doubt in my mind that more people want to come and experience what Baseball United is.
No doubt, no doubt. I couldn't agree more. And furthermore, Eddie, being on the field, well, being there for the entire tournament, fantastic experience. Being on the field celebrating with our team afterwards, like you mentioned, behind second base, is quite literally something I'll tell my kids and my grandkids about because there's so much history there just in that 4 day span. It was incredible to be a part of. I'm so grateful to be a part of it.
It was because remember we get up at 5 in the morning, be at the park at 6:30, because that's actually what this organization is all about: teamwork, and see how other guys go for. Because remember we played 21 games in 4 days.
Yep.
It was the first 6 in the morning. That was a team stretching already, and then he goes on the field, and the other team comes in and stretch on the side because Cash came with this great idea. He says, "Listen, we have one field. Got it. A thing at a time. Have to stretch." So he created a spot which they can go stretch, they can go hit soft toss, and they can play catch. And I don't want to forget, but one person that I wanted to say uh, congratulations publicly is Carlos Mirabal. He did a
Hmm.
great job. He did a great job, and I have to say it because he was up and down, try to make sure that everything was play out right. When it comes to regulations, rules and regulations of the game and running the umpires, and he did a good job.
Carlos did a great job as I believe his title is the deputy tournament director.
The German director.
Yep. So he did do a fantastic job at that, did a fantastic job with the scoring, all of that stuff. Eddie, so you guys get to the championship game. Unfortunately, it didn't go the way you wanted it to go, but you guys still made a crazy run in the tournament. How do you keep morale up after a loss like that? Because again, you guys weren't really expecting to make it all the way to the championship, but then you do, and then you're really riding that momentum from that big win over Palestine right into the championship too. So you had that going for you. You had the hot hands, hot bats. So how do you keep morale up after that?
It was great because we have 20 days to practice and put things together. All I told the guys, I said, look, it's two trophy because Cash says something, and I agree with him. Why number three? It's either you win or you become second. So in my mind, my it was I need one of those two trophies because they were beautiful. I say I don't want to be the one that doesn't have either two. So I know it's going to be tough, probably to be the number one. And but you know what? We did have one of the two trophies.
Certainly did. Certainly did. Eddie, where do you see the future of UAE baseball?
I see a great future. I think more challenge is waiting in front of us. but the whole world should see what's going on. The whole UAE area should see what's going on. Uh, Remember, Cash jumped in a plane to the other side of the world and spend 2, 3 weeks a month, come back, see his family, and go right back. Because we are not 2 hours away. We are 15 hours away. But when you get there and you get into the office, it's a lot of energy. So I think more and more, if I should say, investors or people who actually wants to be sponsors with us have to start understanding that we eventually going to build that the actual league of having baseball in that part of the world.
100%. Couldn't agree more. Eddie, as we start to wrap up here, one question I have for you is, what would you say was your biggest takeaway from the Arab Classic tournament?
I think the challenge that we have in front, putting 9 different countries and create the first ever Arab Classic tournament, and Cash make the decision that day when we have the meeting that we're going to play such a day when we don't even have a field. And then, everything started getting all together. See, to me, when I saw that happen, it is when it really, I always said in the past, and nothing is impossible in this. If you might thought about it, it could be done. So when I saw that, I got tears in my eyes. I was the only one who knows I got tears in my eyes because I say, wow, we had this done, but at the same time, we have this tournament that is part of history. So to me, it's going to be an experience to remember. Because I tell you what, last year when we have the showcase, I was not there
Mm-hmm.
because I heard my
I
line,
was.
and
I was.
I know you was, and that was part of history. That was great. I mean, the first ever. So now this, it's like, wait a minute, 2 years, years back to back, we making history in that side of the world. So, and it's going to be more to come.
Yeah, and like you said, we just got to kind of continue that momentum, and I truly believe we're going to do that under Cash's leadership. I would say, Eddie, my biggest takeaway, not that you asked, but my biggest takeaway from being at the tournament and being there for those 2 weeks was really how our team was able to come together again under Cash's leadership. But I knew our team worked hard. I knew we have hardworking individuals all across the board on our team, but like you mentioned, the grind. We were all at the ballpark 6 a.m. or before, probably didn't leave every day until, let's call it 12, 1 in the morning, get back home, sleep a couple hours, go back again. Content guys included, guys like JV, DT. I'm going to forget naming people if I name them all, but just to see how everyone was able to come together and really execute on this tournament, because we all knew how important it was for our organization and for the baseball world in general. To see how we all came together and really nailed this was something that really stuck with me.
It's a beautiful the way you describe it. And on top of that, you put the little caution saying, hey, and we have Barry Larkin, we got Adrian Beltre, we got Mariano Rivera, we got Elvis Andrews, and you can see in their faces how happy. I remember when we have our press conference, when I saw everybody so serious, and I say, wait a minute, what's going on over here? It's like everybody knows what needs to be done. And that was a tremendous press conference, a great presentation by Cash. Herbie did a great job in logistics and many other things. I can wait for the next.
Likewise. I'm sure we'll be back out there soon. Eddie Diaz, before we let you go, any parting words?
Trust us. It's a great team surrounded by legends who has names in the game, and Baseball United is a great family.
Eddie Diaz, thank you so much for taking the time to join me today, man. I know we will talk soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you.